Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back. My name is Emily and this is My Thrifty Kitchen. This month, I'm feeding my family for the entire month on $400, starting with a completely empty pantry. I've had a lot of viewers ask how I shop on a small budget or how they could even begin building a pantry when money is tight. So I created this series with those questions in mind to show exactly how I would do it in my own life. The goal isn't just to make filling meals, but to slowly build a pantry week by week, so by the end of the month, we're not starting over at zero. Anything we don't use rolls over into the next week or even into the next month. This budget is designed for my family, 2 adults and 2 younger kids, so depending on your household size or portion needs, you might need more or less food, but the strategy itself is easy to scale up or down. I base this challenge on about $1 per meal per person per day, so that's $360 for meals plus an extra $10 each week for snacks or convenience items, bringing the total to $400 for the month. In this video, I'll share what we're eating for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Breakfasts are very simple, lunches are mostly leftovers, with a few easy options mixed in, and dinner is where we're using the majority of the groceries, with enough leftovers usually to carry into the next day. The first week might feel a little repetitive or restrictive, but that's intentional. Being careful with ingredients early on is how we build a pantry that makes future weeks easier and more flexible. Any recipes I use that are not mine will be linked in the description, and I also use my homemade bread recipe several times this week, so I'll be linking a full video to how I make that down below as well. If you would like a list of all the ingredients and everything that I paid individually, I will have a Google Doc link put down below in the description. It will show you exactly what I bought, where I bought it, what my budget is, how much I have to roll over into the next week, and I have blank copies. So if you do not have a budget plan and you would like to use this, then you can follow either exactly what I did or switch it up to suit your own needs. This is week 1 of 4 weeks of videos that I will be posting every Saturday over the next couple weeks. So I'm going to start with showing you what I've got, and then we're going to get into some prep, and then we will get into the recipes. All right, so this is everything that I got. I shopped Aldi and Walmart, if you couldn't tell by the brands. My goal to keep the first week was right about $100. I did manage to stay just a tiny bit under that. So let me just kind of go through what I got. I did a pickup for all my Walmart items. I figured that would be easier, and then tried to get most of my fresh produce at Aldi because at least in my area, Aldi has better produce than Walmart. And there are a couple things that I already had in my house that were basically unused. So I stuck those in, and I will include those in the price as well. So I got 2 gallons of milk. My husband and my kids both drink a lot of milk, and I use it a lot in cooking. So I went ahead and got 2 gallons. This is one of the things I already had, some syrup. I barely used any of it though, but the cost is included in there. I got some leg quarters, 2 pounds of smoked sausage, 2 pounds of ground turkey, 2 pounds of sharp cheddar cheese, some margarine, a small thing of plain Greek yogurt. I got 18 eggs, a big 2-pound bag of frozen broccoli, 2 pounds of elbows, a pound of spaghetti noodles, a 10-pound bag of all-purpose flour. I got a 5-pound bag of white rice, 2 pounds of pinto beans, some light brown sugar. I got 2 28-ounce cans of crushed tomatoes, some natural peanut butter, the small thing of black pepper and salt. This is the cheapest way to get this with the black pepper. I think it's like right at $2, but it's over $3 for plain black pepper, like the bigger container. But this was the cheapest way for me to do that, so that's what I did. Chicken bouillon cubes, some fast yeast, an Italian dressing packet. I got iodized salt, soy sauce, plain white vinegar, ketchup, vegetable oil, mayonnaise. And then for my snack budget this week, I got some saltine crackers and some graham crackers that I can utilize to make like snack plates and different items for the kids this week. I think that is everything I got at Walmart. My total was $74.79 there. And I actually probably could have got a couple of these items cheaper if I shopped around more or got a couple of them at Aldi. But the items that I knew that were close in price, like oil or syrup, I just went ahead and put them on my Walmart order because shopping for all this stuff with 2 young kids can get to be a lot. So that's how I went about doing that. But like I said, you might be able to get some of these items cheaper somewhere else, or if you find them on sale at Aldi. I got my 10-pound bag of potatoes, cheapest place to get it. This is one of the things I already had. I have a huge bag of grits that I've had in dry storage. So at Aldi, they sell grits for 2 pounds. So I measured out 2 pounds and I included that price in the Aldi haul. Some lemon juice. I already had this. It is open, but barely used it. So I just included that instead of purchasing it again. That seemed silly. I got some baking powder, a bag of yellow onions. I was going to get apples, but they had mandarin oranges on sale, so I got those instead. Some jalapenos, some celery, some carrots. I really wanted to get the 2-pound pack, but they didn't have any, so I did get this. 3 bananas, cucumber. This is a gigantic cucumber. And then I got some seasonings there. I got cumin, I got paprika, I got chili powder, I got oregano, and I got garlic powder. And that's a pretty standard mix. I feel like I can do a lot of different types of things with this. And my total at Aldi was $23.77, including the cost of the grits and the lemon juice, which brings my total for everything to $98.56, which is right under my $100 budget. I also really wanted to get some green onions, but Aldi didn't have any, so that's all right. I'm just gonna look for them next time. So the first thing I'm gonna do is cook up my chicken. I'm gonna separate the drumstick from the thigh. Drum going in one bowl, thigh going in another. And how I'm gonna do it is the drumsticks I'm just going to keep raw, and I will marinate half of them. And the thighs, I'm cooking these all at once, and I'm gonna shred the chicken and then use the bones and skin to make broth. Because this bag of chicken is so big and some of the pieces get really yucky, you know, there's still chicken parts and stuff on some of them. Like here we've got like little bits of organ meat and stuff, which is fine, but I don't like cooking that and stuff, so I do rinse it off. Everyone has their own opinions about wash, don't wash, rinse, don't rinse, and that's fine. You do what you want to do. But for now, I will continue rinsing off my bags of chicken quarters. Anything that has organs and all that stuff on it, I like to rinse off. Any restaurant I've ever worked at that we process whole birds, we rinse it off. So that's what I continue to do at my own house. And that's what I will continue to do. So I'm just gonna finish this up and we'll be back in a bit. Oh my gosh. Look, it's a whole butt. It's a chicken booty. Okay, so I have my multi-cooker here, and I'm using this because it also has a slow cooker setting. So once the meat is done, I'm gonna pick it off the bones and then throw everything back in here to make some stock on my slow cooker setting. So then it's just kind of one pot. But I'm putting some oil in here, getting it nice and hot, and then I'm just gonna use my salt and pepper to season my chicken thighs. I don't want to season it with anything more than that, even though it is really, really basic, just because I don't want my broth to get any of those flavors, because I will be using all the drippings for the broth. This is really crowded in here, but that's all right. I'm gonna cook it for quite a long time because it's on the bone, and I'm not looking to get a lot of color on this or anything, so it's gonna be fun. All right, this chicken is done. It cooked for right around an hour, and I've let it cool for the last 40 minutes or so that I can pick all the meat off, and then I'm gonna get the bones back in here and we're gonna make some broth. I cut off the end of the celery and I washed it really well. Plus I removed the very far end of it just because that is really dirty. And I tossed that, but that's mostly the end of the celery, plus some of the leafy bits in the center. And this is a half of one of the onions. I was going to use some carrot in this, but because I only have the small packet of baby carrots, I'm not gonna do that. I will just save the carrots in case I make some soup or something and want the carrots in there. And then I'm gonna use 3 of these chicken bouillon cubes. And then I have almost a full gallon of water here, and I'm gonna pour that in. Put my lid on, and then I am going to set this on my slow cook setting on low. It is 1 o'clock right now, and I'm just gonna let this cook the rest of the day. Then before bed, I will turn it off and let it cool overnight. This is all the chicken I got off of the thighs. I also have the glass bowl full of drumsticks, and then I have the 3 thighs and 1/4 left in the freezer. So I'm going to store this in the fridge for meals over the next couple days. Also, side note, we have already broke into the carrots for snacks, and we're down to 1 banana already because my almost 2-year-old loves bananas. So these might end up being more of a snack than an ingredient, but we'll see. I am going to make up this Italian dressing packet. This is one of those things where it's definitely cheaper to just buy the packet outright than purchase all the ingredients you need to make it. There are some really, really simple Italian dressing recipes though that you can follow that hardly require any different seasonings, but I figured this would just be easier because we are already doing so many things from scratch that using a convenience item like a dressing seasoning packet really does save a lot of time and energy. I know it doesn't seem like much, but it really does add up. And I'm just gonna put a little bit of water in there and I'm just gonna shake this. If you have Dijon mustard, brown mustard, something like that, that would be really, really delicious in here as well. We've got Italian dressing. Now that I've tasted it, I'm gonna add a 1/4 cup of water and a little bit of garlic powder and oh! No! A little bit of oregano, sans lid. I'm gonna wash that. Ha. If you have more money in your budget to purchase a better oil, this would be a good use of that. And that's perfect. We've got a 1/4 cup more dressing. All right, I got my chicken drumsticks. I'm gonna take right about half of these and put them in the freezer with the remainder of those chicken thighs. And I'll save these for a later date. I don't really have an idea in mind to use them within the next couple days. So to keep them as fresh as possible, we're gonna put them in the freezer. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, I will eat 2. My kids will each eat 1, and my husband will eat 3 for the meal I'm planning with these. So I'm gonna keep that much out. And then these are gonna go in the freezer with the chicken thighs. I am going to season these with garlic powder, oregano, and salt and pepper. And as you can see, there's not a lot of seasoning on these, and that's fine because we're gonna put a 1/4 cup of this Italian dressing onto the chicken so that it marinates, and this is gonna sit in the fridge until I'm ready to use it for dinner. If I did not mention it in the intro, as I have not filmed that yet, this is day 1. I'm not cooking any meals on day 1. I just did my shopping. I mean, it's already pretty early in the afternoon, but I did all my shopping this morning, and I'm just trying to prep some stuff to get a little bit ahead. And I'll just be using up some of the groceries I already have in my house because there's still a few things that I don't want to throw out, but I also want to keep it bare and don't want to utilize them in this series that I'm doing. So this is going to go in the fridge. Another prep item that I have going here is some bread. It's just in my bread machine here on the dough cycle. I have an entire video of how I make this bread that I will link down below. It's pretty quick and easy in case you want to check it out. Here's everything for late lunch for us today. Just me and the kids though. My husband took to work what we had left over from dinner last night, which is obviously not part of this series, but I didn't want to waste it, so this is it. Dinner tonight, so easy. We are just going to take these drumsticks, put them on my baking tray, my little casserole dish, I guess. And then I'm just gonna take the rest of the dressing and pour it over the top. And this is going in my mini oven for 20 minutes on 400. And then we'll just see where they're at that point. But these, I'm probably gonna cook them for about 45 minutes. We like drumsticks to be really, really done. And these potatoes, I am going to peel and dice them and put them in my pot over here. I have had multiple people tell me I should save my potato skins, make sure they're washed really well, and fry them up like chips. So I don't think I'm gonna fry them because I don't wanna use a bunch of oil for that, but I made sure to scrub them off really well, and I think I'm gonna spray them with some oil and air fry them and see if that works. All right, so I've got my potatoes here. I was going to like cube them into big chunks, and then I started cutting them like I was gonna dice them small. So they're kind of cut weird, like half fries, but that's okay. And I've got my chicken stock here. I'm gonna pour this over the top so that it's just covered. And then I'm gonna put these on the stove to boil. And then for my other side, I'm going to do some sweet carrots. I was gonna roast these, but I think I'm just gonna cook them in a pan. I'm gonna slice them down the middle, hot dog style. And then these are going in my sauce pot. And I'm just gonna put some brown sugar on them. That's quite a bit of brown sugar. A little lemon juice. Probably like 2 tablespoons. Get my margarine out, finally. If you've got more money than me, buy butter. Butter is always better. 1.5 tablespoons or so. And a little salt and pepper. And then when my potatoes are getting closer to done, I'll put these on the stove, but right now I'm just setting these off to the side. All right, so these were in for 20 minutes. And we've got quite a ways left to go. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna crank up the heat to 425 and I'm gonna put them in for another 25 minutes. Over here, my potatoes have been going for about 10 minutes or so, boiling, but they still got a few minutes to go before they're fork tender. Probably about 5 more minutes and these should be ready to go. So I am gonna go ahead and get my carrots on. I'm gonna turn that on medium and I'm gonna start it with the lid. My carrots have started to soften up and all the butter is melted, so I took the lid off and I just want to get this brown sugar reduced down a little bit so it thickens up into more of a syrup. Reduce that temperature a little bit. And then my potatoes over here are pretty much done. So I'm going to strain off about 3/4 of this broth. I've got about 4 tablespoons of that margarine here. I'm going to put in the potatoes. I'm going to season these with some salt and pepper. That chicken broth was only seasoned with the bouillon. I didn't salt it outside of that, so it didn't have a lot of salt. Then we're going to do some oregano and some garlic powder and just stir that up really well. And I like to just cook this until some of that water cooks out and this turns into kind of a butter sauce. And it's okay if some of the potatoes break down into it. It just helps thicken it up. Here is dinner tonight. These carrots are phenomenal. If you have never put citrus in with brown sugar carrots, I highly recommend. The potatoes are perfect. They're kind of like a chunky mashed potato. The kids don't like cooked carrots, so these are just fresh carrots sliced up for them. My husband's plate with 3, my plate with 2, and the kids each have 1. And I'm really looking forward to this. We are in the middle of making flatbreads, and I have some helpers today. This one's making a pretzel. So you gotta fold it across like this, and then flip it down this way. Boom. And then you got to pull this up a little bit like this. Like that.
Pretzel.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm also going to add some salt to that.
Okay.
But after.
All right, so here's our flatbread dough. I don't know why I really thought I had started recording, but apparently I did not, the mixing process. But this is not my recipe, so I will leave the full link for how to make this. This is a baking powder bread, and also just a note, I used oil instead of butter in the recipe. This dough I kneaded by hand. It took about 10 minutes, and then I let it rest for another 10 minutes. And now I'm gonna cut it into 8 pieces. I would probably do 10, but I cut off a decent amount of this dough to let my kids use. And then I'm just gonna show one of these because obviously they're all the same, how to roll it out and everything. So I just cut it into the pieces. You can go ahead and roll them into balls if you want right away. And then I just cover them in a towel while I'm working on the one. And the nice thing about flatbreads is they do not need to be perfectly circular like a tortilla would. I like to get this as thin as I can. I feel like that works the best. And that's why I like using the yeast doughs more often, because they do proof up really nice. Obviously, you don't really need to proof your dough if you're doing baking powder. You need to give it some time to rest. There we go. We're going to go over to our pan. And if you need to, you can stretch it out with your hands a little bit more, just to give it kind of a better shape that you might want. A desired shape, I guess. And over here, I have my hot pan. This is a comal. It is specifically for tortillas and such. I have been wanting one of these forever, mainly because I wanted a flat circular cast iron. I do have a square one, but I wanted one that I could double as a pizza pan, something that was oven safe. I cannot explain to you how excited I am to get this. My husband got me this for Christmas. It's amazing. It's wonderful. It came pre-seasoned too, which was really nice. I did add some oil to it to cook these. Thus far, this thing has been amazing. But anyways, this is just gonna cook for a couple minutes until it starts bubbling, and then we're gonna flip it. All right, flip. I don't think my pan was hot enough, to be honest, because it didn't get as puffy as I think it should have. I don't know. I usually don't make this with baking powder, like I said. But this is still nice and soft and fluffy, but I'm gonna go ahead and throw another one on here with my pan a little bit hotter and see what we can do. So I've got my second one over here. I'm gonna stretch it out a little thinner. This dough also does not roll as nice as the yeast dough. Like, it doesn't get as nice and thin. It's not as stretchy. Still pretty good dough though. Maybe I just didn't knead it enough, I don't know. But down we go. Let's see if it bubbles at all. All right, no bubbles. But it did get brown really quick, and it's nice and soft and spongy. Yeah, it was pretty good. I think my skillet just needed to be a little bit hotter. And I'm going to try and stretch this one out a little bit more as well. All in all, this is a pretty good dough, though. And I think these are going to be really tasty, too. I've got all the other ones here under the towel. I'm going to throw this one on. And usually I think I would probably make like a garlic butter to brush on top, but that's fine. We're just gonna put the butter stick on top, and this just gives it some extra flavor, helps it keep it nice and soft. There's my timer for my bread that I need to put in. Or wait, this is the wrong way. Yep, that's right. Because of course I'm making more bread. I think this is my 3rd loaf already. We go through it pretty quick. And it is so easy with the bread machine, because it keeps the temperature nice and even, so I don't have to guess how long it's going to take to proof. Hour and a half, it's done. I usually make it like 20 minutes or so before I need to leave to pick up my daughter from school, and then by the time I'm back, I've only got about 10 minutes before I need to get it out of there and get it in the oven, and then it's ready for dinner. We can have it as French toast in the morning, whatever. All right, so I just sliced up a little onion, and I'm gonna throw this on my cast iron, and then I just got some chicken set aside from that chicken we pulled, and then the rest of it I threw in the freezer because I'm not sure when I'm gonna be using it next, and I didn't want it to go bad. But I'm gonna get these frying, and then I'm gonna season this up. I'm gonna pull it apart a little bit more. That pan was so hot from the flatbreads. I'm probably gonna make sure my onions don't burn, which looks like they already are. Oh no! All right, I'm gonna season this with some garlic powder, chili powder, cumin, and some salt. I'm gonna put a little oil on this, mix it all up, and we're gonna throw this on the pan with the onions. This is almost gonna be like a pseudo fajita, but in a flatbread. And I'm gonna get a little bit of cheese sliced up for this as well. All right, put that there. And I used the two thickest, like smallest ones that I had. The first two that I made for this. I'm gonna put a little mayo on these. This is lunch today. Like I said, I'm gonna put some mayo on these, so they're not technically done yet. And I've got some oranges over on the side I'm gonna get sliced up because the kids want some too. These are for my husband and I. And this is the kids' lunch. I know it doesn't look like much, but this is plenty for them. Got some cut up flatbread, 2 hard-boiled eggs, some cucumbers, and orange slices. And then if they want another snack later, we can do that. All right, guys, so I am starting on dinner tonight. I am going to make an American-style goulash. This is something my grandmother used to make all the time. My mom made it pretty often, so this is a very comforting meal to me. We need quite a few things, and there's quite a few things that I would normally use in this recipe that I don't have, so we're making some substitutions. I am going to use this entire pound of ground turkey. Usually I would use ground beef. I'm gonna use some crushed tomatoes, some dry noodles. I've got some seasonings here, some salt. I would usually use beef broth, but I don't have beef broth. I have chicken broth, so I'm gonna use that instead. And I don't need any oil or anything because there is a decent amount of fat in this, which will work really nicely. I also have a second container still if I need some more. And usually I would use Worcestershire, but I don't have that, so I'm using a mix of soy sauce and white vinegar that does give a similar tangy umami flavor, so we're gonna go with that. I don't have any green peppers, but I still want more vegetables than just the onions and the tomatoes, so I'm going to chop this up in my little manual chopper here and get that kind of blended up a little bit so it goes into the sauce more, just because we're really limited on ingredients and I don't have a different veggie side to go with this. Because I am doing this at the same time that I'm actually making dinner, I might as well show you kind of how I transfer over my bread. I heat up my cast iron loaf pan here while my oven is preheating. I'm just doing this in the mini oven. It works perfectly for my single loaf here. And I have a different loaf pan lined with parchment paper. And I just drop it into my cast iron loaf pan. And then I have another loaf pan of the same size that I pop over the top. It's greased so it doesn't get stuck. Just make sure that's as even as I can get it. Pull this open. And I have this on 400 and I cook it for about 15 minutes with the little top on. Oh no, sounds like someone's crying. Okay, make sure that's situated in there. And then after that 15 minutes is done, I'll take it out, take the top off, and cook it for another 10 minutes or so. The beautiful thing about this dinner is it can be all done in one pot. At least for me, I make it in one pot. Traditionally, goulash is more like a stew. But obviously, American style goulash, like so many American style recipes, is a little bit different. Just has a lot of inspiration from the original recipe. And I am going to get these veggies in here too. And I'm just realizing right now, my pan is not even close to hot enough. I didn't even check it, but it will be fine. We're already almost done. This is my carrots and celery and my diced up, minced, if you will, small yellow onion. this meat is done. I also seasoned it with a little bit of salt and pepper. Forgot to say that. And I am going to add all the other ingredients. This is 4 cups of chicken broth, 1 of the 28-ounce cans of fresh tomatoes. I also have some seasonings here. I've got a tablespoon of oregano, a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of paprika, and a teaspoon of garlic powder. And I don't have Worcestershire, so I'm going to use some soy sauce and vinegar. It's 2 parts soy sauce to 1 part vinegar. And stir this all around. You can also go ahead and just add your macaroni noodles now, but I want all these flavors to combine really well before I do that. So I'm going to let this simmer for about 20 minutes, and then I will put the noodles in. Okay, everything has been simmering for about 20 minutes. I'm going to add 2 cups of my elbow noodles. I'm also going to add another ½ teaspoon of salt. This can be adjusted based on how salty your broth is. And I think we are good with that. I'm going to reduce this temperature down to medium, maybe a little less depending on how much it starts simmering. And this is going to take about 20 minutes or until the noodles are tender. Okay, these noodles are mostly done. I am turning off the heat because it's still got a nice simmer going, so we can use that residual heat. I've got about ½ cup of cheese here. I did not grate it. I just put it through a little manual chopper, which is why it's kind of wet because I didn't clean it out. I just did it right after I did the carrots and celery. This is a completely optional thing. You don't need to put cheese in it, but I do think that the sharpness from the cheddar does add a really nice flavor and a little bit of creaminess to this. So I'm just going to stir it in, make sure that it's really, really melty, and then we will be ready for dinner. This is it with the cheese melted in. There is a ton of food here. This pot is really nice and big. This will be plenty for us for lunch tomorrow, and I'm going to get some of this out to cool down for my kids because it's really, really hot. If you want it less soupy and thicker, add like ½ cup more noodles. If you want it more soupy, add ½ cup less. And here is my loaf of bread finished up. I did cook it a little less because it was starting to get super brown on top because obviously it's such a small oven, but this ends up being really, really nice soft sandwich bread like this, so this will be perfect to soak up some of those tomato juices. Look at how soft and squishy it is. This is the best bread to make sandwiches with. It does require just a couple minutes less cook time than you would if you want a really, really crusty bread, but my kids love this with grilled cheese, peanut butter sandwiches, all that kind of stuff. I'm probably going to be making a loaf of this as soon as we are out of the previous one. So that might be every day, that might be every other day. I don't know, but this really does help bulk up meals, and it's really, really inexpensive to make. Here is my dinner. This looks so, so, so good. It tastes delicious. I've got a nice thick slice of bread sitting here on the side. This would be delicious with some Parmesan cheese, some fresh parsley, anything like that would be really good. I'm probably going to put a lot more black pepper on mine, but this is dinner tonight. Okay, so I just pulled into Aldi. It is only day 3 of meals. I was not planning on being at the grocery store this soon, but I didn't plan ahead appropriately, and this is one of those instances where real life happens, and sometimes it happens faster than you expect it. My daughter has her dance recital for school today. It's at 6 p.m. downtown. 6:30 is right around the time that we eat dinner, and because the location is kind of on the opposite side of town from me, I am going over to my friend's house after I pick my daughter up from school, and we're all getting ready there, and she's gonna come with us. So I need to get something for us to eat dinner tonight. I'm just gonna go ahead and get a take and bake pizza, and so that I don't have to go to the grocery store in another couple days when Tuesday rolls around again, because today is Friday, I'm going to grab a couple other things while I'm in there. Like my son wants some more bananas. I'm gonna get some bananas, and I'm gonna get 1 or 2 other vegetables. Like I'm gonna get that bigger bag of carrots that I wanted initially, look if they have any green onions, something like that. And then hopefully that will tide us over to like next Friday, so that I'm not coming back to the grocery store on Tuesday again, just because I'm getting a little bit more variation in now. My baby is asleep in the back seat, so I'm gonna have to like half hold him on the cart. I don't have my stroller with me. I wasn't planning on him being asleep, so I'm not gonna be able to film inside the store, but I will show you everything I got when I come out, what my total was, and I will attach it to the total. I also realized that I did not add those 2 gallons of milk when I was going through my total cost for everything earlier when I did my haul. So that cost and total is going to be on the PDF that I had mentioned previously. So I will have a complete total for you guys at the end of this video. All right, I am sitting in the car line at my daughter's school. My total at Aldi was $21.39. I got a pepperoni pizza. It was only $1 more than the cheese, and my kids prefer pepperoni, so I got that. I got some green onions. Still no 2-pound bag of carrots. I didn't get the pack of baby carrots. I didn't think I needed another one of those. I just went ahead and got 6 bananas right away. They're a little green, so they hopefully will last a little while. Can of corn, a little tiny head of cabbage, a big pork carnitas. This was $7.91. They did have a smaller one, but I thought this would be good because then it'll last us a couple meals, and that will help extend these groceries out a few more days, so I'm not going right at the 7-day mark. And then because they didn't have the carrots, I figured I would get some corn tortillas because that will help save me a lot of work. I was originally going to make flour tortillas, but they are only $2 for corn tortillas at Aldi, so I figured I'd just get those, save myself a lot of time, energy, and effort. So that's everything that I got today. I think my total for everything is right around $125 for the first week. So next week I will be able to get some more pantry ingredients and supplies to push us into the next few weeks. Our pizza is done. I'm gonna let this cool for a couple minutes and then we're gonna slice it. And conveniently, my friend has a salad kit that she wants to use up, so her and I are gonna have this with some pizza. For lunch today, we are going to make some sweet and sour chicken rice bowls. And to make the sweet and sour sauce, you just need these 4 things. A lot of recipes you find are gonna have pineapple juice, cornstarch, all that stuff. We do not have pineapple juice or cornstarch. So we're making a very, very simple, basic sweet and sour. I'm gonna get some rice going in my Instant Pot. You know how to do that. So I'm just gonna show you how to make the sweet and sour sauce. Okay, so I just do equal parts brown sugar, vinegar, and ketchup, which in this case is 1/3 of a cup. And I've got this just a little bit more than low temp. I don't want my brown sugar to burn. And I'm doing this directly in the pot because I don't have any cornstarch, so I don't need a whisk or anything like that to break up some of the ingredients. And then additionally to that, I need 1/3 of one of the parts, if that makes sense. So if it was 3 tablespoons ketchup, vinegar, brown sugar, I would need 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. But because it was 1/3 cup, if my conversion of the measurements are correct, it would be like 2.5 tablespoons, I think, of soy sauce. So we're just gonna go with 3 just to make sure it's evened out. And then I'm just gonna stir this up, and I need to cook it until it thickens up a little bit and the brown sugar melts. And if you cook it down too much, you can always just add a little bit of water just to help thin it out a little bit depending on what you're using it for. This has been going for a little bit, but it's not where I want it to be on the sweetness. I'm gonna add about a tablespoon more of sugar. I think I didn't have enough in that cup in comparison to the ketchup and vinegar. So I'm gonna add a little bit more sugar, let this cook down, and then that should be about where I want it. After I made the chicken paninis for lunch the other day, I threw the rest of the chicken in the fridge just because I didn't think I was gonna use all of it before it went bad. So I'm gonna put this into the sweet and sour sauce now that it's ready to go. It's still a little bit frozen, but that's okay. And I'm gonna put the rest of this back in the bowl and I'll put it in the fridge to finish thawing. So I'm gonna stir this up and let it cook down. And I did not add any water to this. I'm gonna let the ice cook out of the chicken, and that should saturate the sauce a little bit with some water. I'm gonna turn up the heat just a little bit. I've got my big bag of broccoli here that I've yet to crack into. So I'm gonna take some of the smaller pieces that will mix in better and throw those on top. There we go. And I'm also gonna throw a little bit of this in the air fryer for my kids because they really like roasted broccoli, but not really in the sauce. So I'm gonna do that too. And then I'm gonna throw a lid on this and let the steam come up and steam up the broccoli. Then we should be ready to go. The rice has 8 minutes on it. All right, I have my rice bowl here. This is some shredded cabbage on the side that I seasoned with vinegar, oil, salt, and pepper. And then I just garnished with a little bit of green onion. There's some sweet and sour sauce on the rice as well as some soy sauce. And I have this packaged up. I'm gonna bring it to my husband for work. And that will be his lunch today. Mine doesn't look nearly as pretty as my husband's, but that's all right. It would be better with some sriracha and sesame seeds, but this is gonna be perfect. And the kids are just having rice, broccoli on the side, and some orange slices. We are also going to prep a quick pickle. I've got half of my cucumber. This is a gigantic cucumber. And it's sliced pretty thick. And then I cut them into half moons. And I'm gonna shove them in my quart jar here. And then I've also got a pint jar here for some onions. I'm kind of just eyeballing this. I want them to each be a little bit sweet. I'm gonna do a tablespoon of sugar in the onions, and I'm gonna do 2 tablespoons of sugar. Yeah, I'm gonna do 3 tablespoons of sugar in my pickles. Usually I would use white sugar. I don't have white sugar, obviously. I've never done this with brown sugar, so there's a little molasses in there, so we'll see. That should be interesting. And then I'm gonna do about a tablespoon, maybe a little less, of salt. And I'm gonna do about a teaspoon of salt in the onions. If you're gonna actually can this, use pickling salt, but iodized is fine for quick pickles. We're gonna go in with vinegar into each of these. I'm just kind of filling it up about halfway, covering the veggies. So that used a significant amount of vinegar, but that is okay because you can reuse these brines. So like once it's out, you could cut up more onion or cut up more cucumber and put it in there. You can't do that infinitely, but you can reuse them if it is within a reasonable amount of time. Then we're going the rest of the way to cover the veggies with water. I think I got a little too much vinegar in here. That's okay. Just add a little extra water. And I'm gonna put the lid on here and just shake it up to make sure that the sugar breaks down. Same thing for this one. See all that sugar? It's down there on the bottom. I want all that to get broken up. And you can make a brine on the sides separately, but honestly, I really don't do that a lot. I just make sure the water is hot when I put everything in here, and then it kind of creates a little bit of a seal as it cools down. Not airtight, shelf stable seal, but it does seal up nice in the fridge as it's cooling down. So I'm gonna leave these on the counter for about an hour and let them cool down, and then I'm gonna put them in the fridge and they'll be ready to go in a couple hours. All right, so tonight we are going to have turkey burgers with fried potatoes. I've got 2 pretty big potatoes in here. I've got some buns cooking away in my little oven. I sliced these up and I am going to dry them off as best as I can. I like to soak them as I'm slicing them, 1, so they don't turn brown, and 2, so that some of that extra starch gets off of them, so that when you're cooking them, they get a little bit extra crispier than they would otherwise. And I feel like it gets some of the extra dirt off because I scrubbed these potatoes and that water is still murky. Put these in here, get them oiled and seasoned. I was thinking I was gonna cut these really thin and make homemade potato chips, but I really didn't want to use all that oil. I kind of wanted to save some of it. It's really easy to just go through everything if you have it available. And when you're trying to build up a pantry, it's good to be kind of stingy right away and not use everything up. So as long as we can still make our food taste good otherwise and have some nutrient density, that's the most important part, especially in this first week. All right, I'm gonna season with some garlic powder, a little paprika for some color, and some salt. I'm gonna get a little more salt in there too as these mix up. Okay, got a cast iron, oiled and hot. Get these in there. And then I'm just gonna use this bowl of seasonings and all to mix up my meat. All right, I'm gonna get this turkey in here. Pulled this out of the freezer this morning, so it's nice and thawed. But we are gonna make cracker burgers. These are just crushed up saltine crackers. There's probably like 12 of them in here. And I feel like it just helps keep this ground turkey together. It isn't as nice as ground beef, obviously. And that was soy sauce and vinegar together to take place of some Worcestershire sauce. It's 3 tablespoons of soy sauce and 3 teaspoons of soy sauce and 1 teaspoon of vinegar to give us some umami flavor. The crackers, we're going to do some paprika, some garlic powder, and salt and pepper, lots of pepper. Basically the same ingredients we use to season the potatoes. And we don't need a ton of salt just because there's salt with the saltines and there is salt in the soy sauce. I have found when using this ground turkey, it can get kind of wet when it's cooking out as well. And the crackers in here help combat that a little bit by soaking up some of that moisture and keeping it in the meat so it doesn't dry out. We've got some beautiful buns. I did not do an egg wash. I did a little milk and maple syrup to get them nice and brown on top. I think they got a little too brown though, probably because of the sugar. I usually do an egg wash, but I didn't want to use a whole egg for this because I'm starting to run low on those. We're going to get these cooling. And I totally forgot I was going to dice up some onion and put it in the burgers for a little extra flavor. Usually I will do minced onion because my family doesn't really like onions, at least raw onions, but they add so much good flavor to burgers. Actually, let's do it this way, and they won't even know. This is my favorite way to sneak veggies in my kids' food. They're really good about eating veggies. They like broccoli and Brussels sprouts, even peas, especially the baby who loves peas. But a lot of times, different types of vegetables that I cook with, if there's chunks in there, they don't want them. Like peppers and onions and stuff like that. But those veggies are so good for you, and they taste so good, that I want them to eat them. So if the only way to get them to do that is if they don't know they're there, that's what I'm going to do. Alright, so this is all mixed up really well. I'm going to form this into patties, and those potatoes still have a while, so I will be back when this is done. Alright, I got 6 burger patties. The 2 on top are a little bit smaller than the other ones, because I've got 6 buns over here. So we're going to do 6 burgers. I'm also going to slice some cheese, and I sliced up some cabbage, 2 baby carrots, some celery, and some green onion. I'm going to do a little bit of coleslaw on the side. my plate. I've got pickled onion and pickles on my burger, some potatoes, and some coleslaw. Usually I would like some mustard on this, but I don't have any mustard, so this is gonna do it. Breakfast today, hash browns, sausage, and cheese grits. Okay, tonight for dinner is going to be some chicken noodle soup. I was originally going to make that carnitas and have some tacos, but it is really freaking cold out there today. At least for North Florida, it's cold. It's like 30 degrees outside. So I figured a nice comforting bowl of chicken noodle soup would be the perfect thing. I was going to make the noodles from scratch, make some egg noodles, but I didn't. I'm just going to use the elbows. I made a loaf of bread instead to have with it. This will make loaf number 4 for the week. I'm going to let this cook for a few minutes, then we'll add the chicken. Now that our veggies have softened up, this is going in.
Is that applesauce?
No, it's not applesauce. It's chicken broth. I put this in the freezer because I didn't know if I was going to use it quick enough. So it was in the freezer, and I'm going to let this thaw completely, and once we get it to a boil, we will add our noodles. Alright, we have a little bit of a boil going. This is 1 cup of the elbow noodles. And I am going to cook this for 9 minutes with the heat on. And then I'm going to turn the heat off so that the noodles can finish cooking, but it can cool down enough. I really, really, really do not like overcooked pasta noodles in my soup. Okay, so my kids actually requested grilled cheese and some banana for dinner. My daughter says the grilled cheese is best with the fresh bread, so fair. So I made that for her. My son has his already. They're gonna share a banana. And then I'm gonna have soup, and I'm just gonna eat mine with saltines. So that sounds really delicious. So this is dinner tonight. All right, so for dinner tonight, I'm making those, steamed up carnitas tacos. And it was a really big one. So this has been cooking for 2 hours. I just started it before I brought my daughter to dance class and we got home, and it just finished. So I'm gonna take this meat out, shred it, and I'm gonna strain all of the broth that's in here, and I'm gonna use it to cook my beans. Okay, so I have my washed beans, and these are like a partial soak. I put them in water at the same time that I started cooking the meat, so they've been soaking for right around 2 hours. I just drained all that water out, and I'm gonna pour this through a fine mesh strainer, and I'm gonna get this cleaned out so that we can get the beans cooking in here. All right, so I've got that wiped out. I obviously did not clean it all the way, and I'm just gonna pour all this back in there. I don't know how much water I used. Well, I mean, I don't know how much liquid this is, so I think I'm going to add another 2 cups of water. Okay. I'm going to taste this just to make sure it has enough salt. We'll add just a little bit of salt. Also, some oregano. I have had people in the comments before tell me not to add salt to my beans because it makes them hard. I don't know. I've never had that problem. And also, I mean, all the beans I buy canned have salt in them, so I'm not really sure. I mean, I don't know. None of them have ever been hard to me. The only time they've ever been hard is when my beans are really old, like if they're older than I expected, or I bought them not knowing that they've been on the shelf for a while. Then sometimes they get hard, but never because of salt. So let me know in the comments below if that's your experience. But with that being ready, I'm gonna cook this on high for 30 minutes. I think that should be fine, since those beans had softened up quite a bit already. And I'm gonna go ahead and get this pork shredded. All right, so I'm gonna get some rice going. But in the meantime as well, I cut up a little bit more cabbage and I did half of a jalapeno, no seeds. And I've got this coleslaw left over. So I'm going to add this into the coleslaw, put a little lemon juice in there, and then maybe add a little chili. But I'm also going to slice up some onion and do the rest of this jalapeno and get some rice going. All right, I feel like this is the third time that I have forgot to press record in the midst of this week. But here's a little chunk of onion that I diced up, the jalapeno that I diced up. And I mixed all that other stuff in there. I put some salt and pepper, some lemon juice, and a teeny bit of chili powder in there. And I'm just gonna let this all soak up together. Meanwhile, I'm going to heat up my pan with a little oil. Usually I would use a pot for this, but I use this for lunch or a grilled cheese for a snack. I can't remember what it was. Something really easy. So I'm just gonna reuse this. Yes, I wiped it out. Okay, so I've got a cup of rice. That's gonna go in. We're gonna fry that up. Then I'm gonna put my onion and jalapeno. And then this is a bouillon cube, but I crumbled it up a little bit so that it breaks apart. Sorry that it's dark like a dungeon. My light died, so it's on the charger. But I'm just gonna fry this up a little bit, give it a little color, and then we will add some water. All right, we have our rice. We're gonna go in with 2 cups of water. I forgot to add it earlier, but I'm gonna add a little garlic powder. Give it a little stir. And I don't know where my lid is, so that one's going on it. It'll be fine. Okay, so our beans are done. They are delicious and they're perfect. And actually, this is making me really want red beans and rice. So maybe I will make that next week and get some more beans. But anyways, I'm gonna take some of this bean juice and I'm gonna pour it over our pork because I didn't keep any of the juice before. But I really don't want this to dry out, especially any of the meat that's going to be left over, because there is going to be plenty of left over. This is more than enough for dinner for us tonight, plus some, probably 3 meals worth of pork. All right, that's probably good. And for the rest of this, I'm just going to put this on saute. We're just going to do this for a few minutes. Let's just say 10 minutes. I'm only putting it on a timer because I've got some stuff going on. And I don't want to get distracted and burn it. I'm going to thicken that up a little bit. Stir up that juice into the pork. The slaw is actually perfect. I may have eaten like half of it already because I'm hungry and I'm impatient. But at least I know it's good. And the rice over here, I had to add a little more water. And I'm just cooking that the rest of the way without the lid on. I've got my daughter over here oiling up our tortillas so that we can fry them up on the griddle. There you go. There you go. That's plenty. That's plenty. More than on the other one. And now you got to do your meat. Like this. Like that.
Oh.
That's all you really need.
Those
these are,
ones gonna be mine.
yeah, because these are just for you. Now let's flip your brothers. Boom, 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 boom.
Because he doesn't want any.
Exactly. He's not going to eat any meat in his. We'll just put some on the side for him to pick at. There you go. That's perfect. And then you can just put a little more cheese on top of the meat. Just a little bit, just so that it sticks. Because you've already got plenty on there. Perfect. Great job. Here you go. Do you want to flip it over? All right. Don't burn yourself.
Oh, I can do it by myself.
There you go. Now push it down. There you go, kiddo. All right, the next one. Awesome job. Those look great. All right, these are the kids.
Mommy.
Yep, I got you, buddy.
Let me open them.
These are the kids' plates. Okay, and here is my plate. I put the slaw on the tacos. My husband's looks much the same. The only thing that I really wish I had was maybe some hot sauce. So I think I'm going to make note of that and add that to my shopping list for next week. I had 3 flatbreads left. So I used some of that carnitas from dinner last night and I made some sandwiches, and I'm using my homemade pickles and my pickled onions to give it some flavor. This is making me feel like I want to eat a Cuban. So my husband and I are having this, and then the kids are having some cut up flatbreads, some cheese slices, and the rest of the carrots.
And I have a pickle.
Of course.
Pickle, Mommy.
Yes.
Okay.
Alright guys, that's everything I got for this week using nothing but the ingredients that I bought in my grocery haul at the beginning of the week. If you would like to see what I have left over to roll into the next week, I will play that clip after that. But I would also like to say thank you for making it this far in the video. I know it was a really long one. If anybody has any suggestions or maybe some things that they might do differently, please leave it in the comments. I would really like for this video series to be something community driven, because people are really struggling out there. It's really hard to buy the small things like seasonings and pantry ingredients when we're trying to put meals on the table. People's budgets are not going as far, but everyone still needs to eat, and everyone should be able to enjoy the meals that they're eating. Okay, this is everything I have. We will start over here from what I had in the freezer. This is from the carnitas night. These are the beans, and then if you can see the little pack in here that I have wrapped up, that's the rest of the pork. Chicken drumsticks. Chicken thighs, there's 4 of them in here. I already pulled these out of the freezer because I'm going to use these for dinner tonight. I've got 2 eggs, half a bag of broccoli, peanut butter, a little, right around a pack and a half of saltines, 1 pack of crushed tomatoes, some sweet corn. There's like 1.5 portions of the graham crackers in there. I still have all of the spaghetti. A little less than half of the elbows are in there. Right around half of this 10-pound bag of flour, so right around 5 pounds is left. Brown sugar, went through about half of that, I would think. Half the bag of broccoli. Here is about 1/3 of that 2-pound block of cheddar cheese. Right around 3 pounds of this 5-pound bag of rice, I think. I don't know for sure. Jalapenos, most of these are left. I only used 1 or 2. I thought I was going to use these for something, but I switched it up, so we got to go back to these. Most of the corn tortillas, about half of the celery is left, 3 of that bag of onions, pinto beans, probably like 2/3 of that pack. Potatoes, these got eyes on them really quick. I feel like Aldi potatoes do that a lot, but this is what's left, maybe about 1/3 of the bag. Here's what's left of that 2-pound of grits. We've got a decent amount of oil, a decent amount of vinegar, lots of ketchup, lots of soy sauce, lots of syrup. Still have plenty of lemon juice, some pickles left, and the brine. I'm going to reuse that. We've got some pickled onions left, and the brine. I'm going to reuse that. Italian dressing. Most of this I did not use. That was another thing that I switched up, so I'm going to lean into this week. 1 1/3 stick of margarine. And as for our seasonings, pretty much have the majority of all of them left. We've got chili powder, oregano, cumin, garlic powder, paprika. I have 1 packet of yeast. I used 4 of these, I think, so there's 20 of the chicken bouillon cubes left. Baking powder and the salt and pepper. Did use a lot of this pepper, so hopefully that'll last us another week. But that is everything that I have left after a week. Remember, I did go shopping, but those bananas are gone. My oranges are gone. My carrots are gone. There's a lot of stuff we did eat through already. So I'm going to need a supplement here pretty soon. But my total that I spent this week was $125.89, and that includes my Aldi trip and the 2 gallons of, oh yeah, oops, I forgot. I have some milk left and some mayonnaise left. So that is everything. My total this week was $125.89. This is everything that we are rolling into the next week. That total does include 2 gallons of milk and then everything I bought at Aldi. So I'm really glad I have all this out now, because now I can kind of differentiate meals that I can make exclusively with what I have, and then go through this first to find some ideas for what I can use going into next week and just shop this first. And green onions. I forgot to pull these out. They were in my window. I cut the tops off that were getting kind of sad, like these. Pull those off. I just have them sitting in water so they keep growing, but I still have these left too. Okay guys, if you enjoyed this video, remember to tune in next week for part 2, week 2 of this $400 a month grocery budget. I really hope that this video helped you or someone that you know. Remember to like this video, it really does help out the channel, and let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure you're subscribed if you're not already so you don't miss out, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.